most of them were about that. One of the proposals was if we would like to strike every month, and then someone said that we would lose our, how do I say, like, not image, but it would be better if we strike on 2 to 3 months, between 2 to 3 months, and that it would be too difficult to organize a strike every month. I mean, we all know how much work it takes to organize a strike. So the next topic was a movement structure, and there was a comment that we should have more clarification on our democratic structure, and that also there was a proposal that we should make our own app, but someone said that making an app isn't a priority and that we should use whatever we are using now. You all agree? Yes? Oh, okay. So the next one was focus on mobility. There was a lot of opinions about the big city proposal, like a lot, like there was like no place we can post our stick notes. So to clarify, everybody said that big cities are not the driving forces of our movement, and everybody's the driving force, right? Everybody is working on Fridays for Future, so yes, applause for us. Thank you. And our next topic is education. That our proposal is that all schools should have an environmental class or some kind of out of school, like how do you say it? Yes, extracurricular. Yes, thank you. And that we should not use climate change, but we should use climate crisis. The next topic is cooperation. We should work on our communication between the countries and between all the movements. Question? Yes. Can someone give the boy a microphone? The boy, sorry. There were two.
Thank you. You are going too fast from the previous questions, so it will be related to the monthly strikes. So there is still possibility to discuss this. It is maybe not about the popularity of the movement, but in general, if we have 18 months to really make a change, if we will strike once in 2-3 months, okay, where do we reach this our goals, okay? So maybe it's a good possibility to rediscuss it, and not the importance of the popularity of the movement, but the movement itself should continue always remembering, hey, we are here and we are doing our work.
Yes, of course. Just to answer the question, this is only our first feedback. We're going to come here tomorrow with the structure group. We're working in the afternoon. So everything that you have proposed now, we're going to work on it. And tomorrow we will bring it to you once again, and you can vote and say your opinion 2 more times. So another question? Yes?
It's not a question, it's just only a point. We created in Italy an app for FFF, and we can expand this also for FFF Europe or FFF Global, because we think it will be really nice, because with app you have notifications and people know about what do we do and other cool things.
Okay, that would be great if you're willing to do it. It would be amazing.
We could create maybe a team. We could create an international team for this app. Maybe it will be really nice.
That would be amazing. If someone is willing to put work on, like, doing the work, it would be amazing. Yes?
I was thinking about creating like a platform for us to invite each other to participate in our strikes. For example, I'm from Poznań, Poland, so I could invite people from other places in Europe, and we could just like show our friends and our strikers in the whole Europe, in the whole city, that hey, we're not only here, we're really like in the whole world. And what do you think?
Can you like one more time your question, because I didn't understand.
Like, what do you think of creating like a platform for us to invite each other to participate in strikes? For example, when people from, I don't know, Croatia invite people from Czechia, and it works that way.
I mean, that would be amazing as well, because I mean, as young people, we go on a lot of like exchanges, youth exchanges, and stuff like that. So if you're in the city when a strike is occurring, you can always join. Would be, I mean, all those proposals, you can like write them down, and we in the structure group will work on it, and it would be like really amazing. So good idea. Thank you so much.
I just want to say that these now are just proposals, so everything you have said now will be like added to the working group strategy, but we are not like making decision right now. So even if someone says this is a good idea or this is a bad idea, this has not been democratically accepted. So these are now just proposals or ideas, but don't think that means we already agreed to make an app or something like that. I just wanted to clarify that.
So this is only the first step towards our goals and our whatever. Yes?
Have we noted down the proposals? Have we noted down the proposals? The proposals that have been announced now, do we have them down?
Do we have them written?
Yeah.
I don't know. If someone get notes, I don't think so. Yes?
Can I suggest that all of the people that came with these new proposals either work on this at the open forum later today and work on it and then come with a proposal to the strategy working group? I think that would be a good method to involve these new ideas that came up.
That's all the questions? Okay. So the corporation that we should work on our communications, as I already said. Aha, okay. Sorry.
Hello, everyone. I've got just a short question. Are we now focusing only on one strike per month? Was that the outgoing point here? Okay, if it's just
is a proposal, so
because I don't think that we need so big strikes all the time. I think maybe we just start with smaller ones as well. Then we don't need so much work. Okay, sorry.
Thank you. And the last thing I should tell is like there was said that we should be like politically involved in politically responsible. So that's it from me. Thank you so much and good work.
Okay, so thank you for being so focused. We're really glad you enjoyed the process, it seems. I just wanted to tell you the press conference is live streamed in this room at 12:30. Lunch is also at 12:30 in the other building, so I'll explain that later. But just you cannot eat in this room, so you can't watch and eat. For the lunch.
So lunch is in the other building. You can see the plan there. We are in Amphimax, where there is like the pink square. Then you have just to go out of the building, then turn left and go straight through like a little forest, and then you see the building, and there is the lunch. Yes, some important questions? Oh, yes.
Okay. Will there be other ways to watch the press conference, and do we have Wi-Fi in the lunch building so we can watch it there?
Yes, I think in the lunch building there's the same Wi-Fi as here. Or you can watch it later if you find it on the internet. Just wait, some important information. The plenary on the afternoon starts at 2 p.m. So please be back here in the same room as at 2 p.m.
One more question.
So do you know how long is the press conference going to be, more or less?
How long?
Yeah.
I think it's a little more than 1 hour, but you can leave in the middle if you want. I mean, here you are not disturbing anyone because it's just live streamed. Okay.
Ça marche? Ça marche? Ok.
Yeah, ça marche.
It's okay.
C'est bon?
Oui. I just want to check two people. Check, sound check.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we please start the press conference? Ladies and gentlemen, please focus the cameras now towards the slides and the scene in the front. We're going to start now. Hannah Otto.
Donc, bonjour tout le monde et bienvenue au sommet SMILE du mouvement Fridays for Future à Lausanne. Herzlich willkommen beim SMILE, dem europäischen Treffen von Fridays for Future in Lausanne. Benvenuti a tutti allo SMILE, il vertice europeo di Fridays for Future di Losanna. Welcome to the SMILE, the European Summit of Fridays for Future in Lausanne. From now on, I'll stick to English to simplify a bit. We are happy to welcome you here, and we're looking forward to your coverage of this week's activities. My name is Hannah Otto. I will present this press conference, and I'm honored to be here. None of us are professionals, but you being professionals, you'll be able to handle that, won't you? As Fridays for Future, we fight for our well-reasoned demands for climate justice. Within only a few months, more than 2 million people around the whole world have joined our movement to share and demand responsibility. The future of life on the planet is at stake. Therefore, we have decided to come together here in Lausanne for this week-long meeting. We are some 450 young participants from 38 countries. We want to turn our hopes for the future into action. Fridays for Future understands itself as an umbrella organization for lots of different initiatives and streams of action. Before we come to the SMILE conference, we have decided to give room to one of these projects. It's a European Citizens Initiative. We strongly support it as one of the projects within our movement. They will now present the launch of their initiative called Actions on the Climate Emergency. So we have here on stage 3 of the initiators who are also participants: Thomas Eitzenberger from Austria, Astrid Budolsen from Denmark, and Greta Thunberg from France. So, why is this called Actions on the Climate Emergency?
Because actually it is an emergency. If you take a look at the picture on top now, you're going to see from the World Meteorological Organization and from Copernicus a picture of the smokes ongoing, currently emitted in the Arctic Circle about wildfires. It's important to note that what we see here is unprecedented in last centuries. You see here some 50 megatons of carbon dioxide being emitted within 2 months. This is the yearly greenhouse gas emission of Switzerland or Sweden to compare with. And it burned like more than 30,000 square kilometers in 2 months, which is 2/3 of the size of Switzerland, being completely scorched to the ground. The forests there will need roughly 100 years to recover. So what we see here is some kind of a potential tipping point. And the tipping point is something that maybe needs some explanation, and it's best shown with some matching there. If you have a single match that is burning, you can extinguish it quite easily. But if you take that burning match and bring it near another match, that will ignite a chain reaction that might be unstoppable. And that's what we face here. So it might well be that in a few decades, people of the future time will look back in anger on this year, 2019, when we have lost the battle against climate crisis.
I grew up in Uganda. When I was 14 years old, I buried 2 infants who died from malnutrition. It was wrong, and it made no sense. I learned then that the only people who can do something to make the world better are the people who are alive today. We, the initiators, are a group of ordinary people. We're from different backgrounds, we speak different languages, we're all from different ages, and we come from different countries. The thing we do have in common is that we believe and we acknowledge that the climate crisis is a threat to humanity and to all life on Earth. And we want all people in the EU to acknowledge that as well. That is why we have started this European Citizens Initiative. It is a petition directly addressing the European Commission. It is a way for the voice of the people to speak directly to the European Commission. And to be heard, we need 1 million signatures.
We have received many critics from politicians telling us that we don't propose any measures. We decided to respond to it by writing this European Citizens Initiative composed of 4 objectives. The first one is that the European Union should change its Paris Agreement goals to an 80% reduction of greenhouse gas emissions by 2030 and net zero for all member states by 2035. With our second objective, we are asking for a charge to put in place on imports that are coming from countries who do not respect the 1.5 degree goal. Our third objective goes hand in hand with the second one, as we are asking the European member states not to sign any free trade agreements with countries who again do not respect the 1.5 degree goal. Our fourth and last objective concerns education. We want free educational material available to every citizen and schools.
Okay, thank you very much. This sounds great. So if people want to sign up, how can they do so?
We're currently registering DCI, which will take around till end of September. And we've already set up a website, that's eci.fridaysforfuture.org. There you get all the information about DCI itself, and you can also register to the newsletter. And we start collecting then after the Earth Strike Week, end of September, and hopefully we'll reach the 1 million.
Okay, thank you. So there's now room for your questions to the initiative. Yeah, here in front.
Yeah, I have a question about how do you expect to enforce these goals, because Paris Agreement goals are already not really enforced. So if you set up higher goals, how do you expect them to be enforced?
Well, first of the goals that we demand are not higher than the Paris Climate Agreement. Second off, I think we keep on doing what we do best at Fridays for Future, and that is putting the pressure on them so that they finally move. The European Citizen Initiative is not a legally binding instrument. It's a policy-setting framework, but as you have seen with Right to Water and other ECIs that were successful, that you can put a lot of pressure on European level by simply mobilizing enough people to stand up and raise their voices, and that's what we're hopefully going to do the same way.
Are there some other questions? Here in front, there's...
You mentioned that several European Fridays for Future states approved your text, and also Switzerland. When did Switzerland approve your text?
Well, we cannot state the exact date, but we had an entire legislation process that lasted when we ended the writing process. Mm-hmm. And so countries could also then propose some changes. And Switzerland, I think, legislated, well, the Fridays for Future Switzerland legislated a few weeks ago.
8 days ago, there was the national meeting in Bern in Switzerland, Fridays for Future, and they said also, they defined climate targets, but these are not in line with your targets. And the Swiss Fridays for Future people didn't follow the mainstream IPCC 1.5 degree way, but criticized this procedure. And for example, Switzerland, they said net zero in 2030 and not 2035. Can you comment on this?
Well, first of all, I mean, Switzerland, as it's not in the European Union, they will not be concerned by it. But concerning the 2030 goal, well, the thing is that this European Citizens Initiative will concern the entire European Union. And that way it is clear that it will take more time, as in the European Union there are wealthy states and less wealthy states. So we need to take into account each country's specifically, and this will obviously take more time, as it's the entire European Union that is concerned. And so we read some reports and saw that 2035 is a possible goal for the entire European Union.
Here in front, there's another question.
Thanks. I have two questions. The first one, you just said that Switzerland was not concerned. It's a little surprising as a Swiss to hear that. What do you mean?
Well, it is a European Citizens Initiative. This means that these objectives will be put in place in the European Union.
But does the movement have to follow, European Union's borders?
Of course not. I mean, we all know that climate change is global.
Yeah.
And we're happy that the Swiss would come up with a net zero on 2030 or 2035. So be invited and be our guest. But yeah, specifically the project is about the European Union. So while we appreciate any contribution by any country to save the planet, the focus on this project is of course on the European Union.
Okay, just my second question. You said that you wanted to keep applying pressure on deciders so that something happens. Is that going to be it? I mean, are you guys going to keep striking, or is anything else in your plans?
To support this European Citizens Initiatives, we're not only going to collect 1 million signatures. Of course, we're also going to use the next year to lobby the Commission and the Parliament. And we also want to create awareness in the populations of EU about the European Citizens Initiative, and also use the European Citizens Initiative to create this focus and this awareness about the climate crisis.
Thanks.
Okay, there's room for one more question.
Thank you. I didn't get the point on educational material. You mean education material on climate issues? Otherwise, I can't get the logic of it.
Yes, it's about climate issues, about the effects, about the causes and the solutions to climate change.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, sorry, you may hear.
One sentence to add. Like in Austria, we had the problem, like back then, 30 years ago or 40 years ago, about recycling the litter and separating it, because adults didn't do it. So what Austria came up with is we brought it into the schools and educated the children that went home and told the parents, hey, why don't you separate glass from plastics? Yeah. And I think, although we don't have the time for that now, it is at least a measure to create awareness for all ages, from young to old, about the urgency of the situation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your interest, and good luck to you. So now to our summit in Lausanne, which started already this morning. We will have a look at our week-long program, hear some of our protagonists and our special guests. As two senior experts who are lending their support to this summit, I would firstly like to introduce Ernst Ulrich von Weizsäcker. He was professor of biology and co-chair of the International Resource Panel of the UN, and he was co-president of the Club of Rome during 6 years. And secondly, Jacques Dubochet, Professor Emeritus and Nobel Laureate from Lausanne, the big supporter of Fridays for Future since its beginnings, also member of Grandparents for Future. Thank you. And then one of our participants hardly needs an introduction, Greta Thunberg from Sweden, a great inspiration for our movement. And then we have asked one of our organizers, Luki Natil, to present the idea and the program of this week. She has been working together with the other members of the committee for months setting up this meeting, so thanks a lot to you all.
Thanks. For the last 6 months, the Fridays when I've been striking, I was thinking about all of these young people shouting their disagreements and their hope all around the world. And I felt the strength of humanity. Since yesterday, I've been very, very happy to see all of these young people arriving in Lausanne and exchange with them. It was really emotional to finally see the results of all of this work to prepare the meeting. We are very happy that Lausanne was chosen to host the meeting, and we would like to thank the university for having us here. Participants are coming from all over Europe and beyond. Slovenia, Portugal, Turkey, Russia, Estonia, and 33 more countries. This week is a wonderful opportunity to create strong connections, but also to work together to define our guidelines. The guidelines will help us to coordinate better and to move forward more united than ever.
So, how will you proceed?
We want all participants to be very active, so therefore we will not impose any content for the discussion. We will create this week all together. This afternoon, participants will choose the topics they would like to discuss throughout the week by groups. They will have the freedom to choose the way they organize themselves to explore the topics. Each group can make some inputs to the strategy working group.
What is the strategy working group?
So prior to the meeting, participants have already been working. They made some proposals on values and principles, strategic goals and demands. And the strategy working group will work on those proposals and will try to define more precise guidelines. Scientists will also be there throughout the week to answer our questions and to make sure that we are sticking to the facts. Thanks.
So now we want to hear Greta Thunberg. You can stay there if you want.
Hi. I just want to say that I am very grateful to everyone who has been organizing this and everyone who has been organizing strikes everywhere, and just show my gratitude. And this is an amazing summit, so thank you for that. I don't really have anything more to say. I have spoken so much before, so.
So now, Professor Dubochet. if you would like to come in the middle of the stage.
There's too much emotion to speak without a note. What can I tell in this extraordinary moment? My emotion, of course. In 1968, we tried to revolutionize the world because we thought that money and selfishness were bringing our society to its death. Beside Marxist, Stalinist, Maoist, our group was untypical. Our focus was on climate. As you know, we didn't brought our project very far. A few years later, we learned from the Meadow report, from the Klimagipfel, why the fundamental change can't wait. It must take place within our lifespan. And so we continue to be active for the planet just a bit. We also had children with my wife. I had my research career and things went on, business nearly as usual. Then I got a Nobel Prize. And you know, when these strange things happen, people suddenly think that you are very smart and whatever you say must be true. So I took advantage of that and spoke as loud as I could about our stupid money-making economy, about my melting glaciers on my beloved mountains, and about the global climate crisis. I was depressed that 45 years after the Meadow report, we didn't progress a bit. A tragedy. Greta, last year in November, I heard you for the first time. It was at the TED Talk in Stockholm. Oh la 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 la. It was a shock. I cry a lot. And soon after, I could walk through Lausanne with a large number of young people of the climate strike who took me with their movement, the movement you have initiated. You say, don't look for hope, look for action. They and their friends from all around Europe have organized this working week in order to frame the continuation of the action. Here you are. Here they are. With emotion, modesty, and thankfulness, here I am. Thank you.
So we now hear Professor von Weizsäcker.
Thanks very much, Hannah. I had the great honor being invited this morning to give a little introduction on the scientific side. In passing, I also mentioned that I am one of the early signatories of Scientists for Future. 26,000 scientists in at least the German part of Europe have signed, because we are very, very happy that the young, the school children, had the courage of putting the goal of climate stability above the goal of being good students at school, which evidently is correct. And we scientists were so unbelievably grateful for this popular support by the new generation. Now, in terms of substance, what I said is essentially three things. One, some 90% of the global warming takes place in the oceans, 10% in the atmosphere. So, coastline countries, Switzerland doesn't belong to it, have to be extremely worried by the potential of the seawater table rise. And it could become an abrupt kind of change if, for instance, the Greenland ice or the West Antarctic ice plate gets a rift or so and glides off into the ocean. In a matter of 2 weeks or so, the cities of Bangkok or Amsterdam or Venice or Hamburg or so would be flooded, you know? Unbelievable dangers are looming. Second, if we only concentrate our action on Europe, we are losing the war, because more than 90% of the currently newly built and planned coal power plants are in the developing countries, of course. And unless we persuade them that it can be lucrative and good for them to stop building coal power plants and make money out of renewable energies and energy efficiency, which is a great potential, we are losing. It's just not good enough to make Europe look better. And the third thing is, we have to establish political frame rules that make it more profitable to do the good thing instead of doing the bad thing. Under today's conditions, building a new coal power plant is tantamount to printing money. You know, that's the only reason why it's done. Unless we change that by a fine on carbon dioxide emissions or so, and perhaps a premium for absorbing carbon dioxide or so, for instance, by good agricultural soils, then we cannot win the game. And I'm so much by heart and emotion on the side of Fridays for Future that I find it, as a former politician, extremely important to also work on this third agenda of making politics helpful and not destructive to the goals that Greta Thunberg has so wonderfully formulated. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So we already heard two of our participants. As I said before, we are lots of different participants from different countries, coming for different reasons. So we want to hear some more quick impressions from other participants. We have 3 participants here in our room. So Christine. Christine is from Estonia, and what are you looking forward to within this week?
It's a unique opportunity for us Estonians to have a say in all of this and help grow the movement. As a small country, we don't have that many strikers, so I think it's important for us to see that there are so many other people fighting for the same cause as we are. So we're definitely looking forward to the strike on Friday to keep us motivated.
Okay, thank you. You can just join us on stage as one of the representatives of another participant. Sophia, why are you activists in Fridays for Future?
First of all, hello. You know, years ago, before the movement even started, I was feeling uncomfortable what was around me. No one seemed to care about the same things that I did. So that was so frustrating. But now we are a whole community, and this meeting is so important because it gives all the young boys and girls and all the participants the chance to meet, to share interests, exchange ideas, and discuss about what we love. Thank you.
Thank you. Forgot to say Sofia is from Italy. And then there's Ilyas from Ukraine. Why did you come to Lausanne?
The movement is struggling in post-Soviet countries. In my country, Ukraine, as well as Russia, Azerbaijan. In our countries, messages from Europe are not heard because they cannot be applied. So many youngsters are not motivated and are afraid to request the changes and the future that is due to them. In some places, they are not even allowed to speak. I am here because I want to show them that it is possible and that we all should raise our voices together. Thank you.
So thank you very much for everybody and everything that has been said. We have now 10 minutes for questions concerning this week, and afterwards there will be 30 minutes of free questions and answers. So please start with your questions concerning the summit now and keep all the other questions for later.
We have talked about coal power plants, and in the European Citizen Initiative, Actions for Climate, was a justification that developing countries are slower in going to net zero greenhouse gas emissions. And this means beyond 2050, today, new coal power plants are built, for example, in Vietnam, South Africa, Indonesia, and other developing countries, and they operate maybe 40 years. 2020 plus 40 is 2060. And I have the impression that the initiative presented here is accepting this with their word climate justice. That means the developing countries can continue beyond 2050 with fossil fuels, but I think this is totally not acceptable, as mentioned by Mr. von Weizsäcker. And therefore my question to Greta Thunberg is, do you think it's better to change the climate justice definition to the following? Those members of governments, former and acting, responsible for climate damaging policy should be sent to prison or to jail.
Well, first I want to say that I have nothing to do with the European Citizen Initiative, so just so I don't... Because someone in this movement says something doesn't mean I stand behind it, just so you all know. I mean, was the question if those who are polluting should be jailed or... The politicians. That is not up for me to say. Yeah, but I mean, we can't blame this on individuals. We can't blame this on politicians, on the market, on individuals. I mean, this is a system that is wrong. I have met so many politicians who really want to do more but can't do more, so we shouldn't be so hateful to politicians, to individual politicians. Then of course they have a bigger responsibility than many others, which they should take.
Yes, I have a question for the organizers of the summit, the young the young people. Are you planning on delivering also a concrete program initiative at the end of the week, or what is in plan?
Look here.
So during the week we will, it's the first time that we meet in person, so we are coming from very different countries, so at the end of the week we will know how do we move on. So there is already the strike coming in for the 20th and 27th of September, so that's a date for sure, and then we will see what we want to do and how do we want to develop in the future. So that's something we will discuss, yeah.
There's a question back there. Okay, first here.
We've been talking. Hello. We've been talking about the way to get out of the problem of climate. Now, there is something that is in most of the minds of people is about decreasing economy. Do you think that there is a way and how we would do that?
What kind of economy?
Decreasing economy. Is there someone who can answer about that? Yes?
Maybe you want to, I don't know, who wants to answer?
Decreasing economy may be necessary, but extremely unpopular, so it's not going to happen. So my first sort of activism has been to decouple economic well-being from destroying nature. And this is possible. In a report to the Club of Rome called Factor 5, we are proving that a 5-fold increase of resource productivity is technically available in the long term at 20-fold, meaning we can increase human economic well-being by something like a factor of 2 or so, while at the same time dramatically reduce not only carbon dioxide emissions, but also land use, minerals extraction, water extraction, forest destruction, and all that. So this decoupling strategy comes first. But if population increases worldwide, furthermore, then comes a point where decoupling will not be powerful enough. And then comes your question, what is left? And the answer must be become more modest. It's extremely unpopular, but unavoidable.
Okay, are there some other questions concerning this week's summit? There's one here.
Is it? Hello? My question is for Greta and as well as the two guests. Firstly, Greta, you've been striking for almost a year now. I'm wondering, how do you feel seeing this many people, young people, your peers, gathering here this week? How do you feel about the movement almost a year into it? And to the guests, after spending your careers working in the science and knowing climate science, how do you feel about the environmental movement, seeing young people rise up like this?
As everyone have been saying, it is incredible to see these many people from so many different countries, and to just walk around and seeing these people is so, yeah, it feels amazing to be here.
Okay, I like. When I was young, I took to the streets against local pollution, but that doesn't help climate. So I'm extremely happy that the new generation takes to the streets for protecting climate. And this I say as a scientist. I was a physicist and later a biologist and know a lot about climate physics and find it absolutely necessary that our civilization learns what the present generation of school girls and boys is telling us. I hope that more old people like me listen.
We could think about what shall we do today? Or can we do this or that? And we are going to decide that in the Conseil Communal de Morges. But that's not the way. We know, you tell us, and we know exactly where we have to go. Out of carbon as soon as possible. Now, there is a bunch of journalists here. You are not neutral person. You are people who help to inform the people, and it is not my knowledge to know how we go there. It's collective intelligence, and you are important to produce this collective intelligence. And she put a lot of strength on this movement. Now you continue.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Jamie, Associated Press. This is for Greta. Thank you for everything you just said, and you're talking about the need for the importance of the movement and carbon. And Greta, the question is really, there's been a year worth of protests. Where do you see things going now? What kind of concrete action do you want to see? And particularly with regard to the IPCC, which is meeting in Geneva this week, if you just tell us what your ambitions are. Thank you.
Yeah. What did she say?
Yes, this year has, during this last year, lots of things have happened. And then, of course, the global emissions haven't gone down, so we're still back on square one. So, of course, we will need to do so much more. We are still only scratching the surface. At least what I'm going to focus now on, and I mean everyone in this movement, is to spread public awareness of what is going on, because I believe that once people fully realize the situation we are in, then they will change, they will wake up, because I don't think people are evil. I think we are just not aware of the situation. So that is what I'm going to focus on now, and and just present the facts and tell them that this is the current best available united science. So yeah.
All right, just about IPCC, could you say anything about the meeting this week?
Yes, the IPCC are coming together this week in Geneva, Thursday, to present a new report. So, what should I say about that? What I hope for is that the essence of what is in that report and what they are saying is going to be spreaded, that journalists will actually write about it and that the media will write about it, and so that people become aware of what they are actually saying.
Like a question. Hi, I just had a question with the political, as you said, politicians sometimes cannot change the problem, and we know in Switzerland it takes usually a lot of time. So how are the other ways than putting political pressure? Is it a good way to put pressure on politicians, or it's not going to change anything? Maybe Mr. Dubochet knows what's happening in Switzerland.
Yeah. So with some other people, we've been meeting the Minister of Environment, Simneta Sommaruga, and we can really see that, yeah, the Swiss system is long. Bringing the youth into the streets really put pressure on them, and they see that we really care and we are really there to push the message forward. Then the way, to bring the awareness to the whole population means that then the population can also do something. And yeah.
But is there other ways than just putting pressure on politicians? If it does not work, how are you going to change the system then?
I think that's something we will also discuss this week together on how we can also put more pressure or differently. Yeah, that's a topic of discussion.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to add something. I wanted to give a little historical example pertinent to your question. In the 1980s, there was a big debate about the ozone hole. And surprisingly, against all other tradition, it was the United States of America that began fighting the ozone hole by supporting the Montreal Protocol and many other things. Why? The reason was that DuPont, a big chemical company, had invented substitutes to the fluorocarbon stuff that damages the ozone, and made a fortune by protecting the ozone layer. They even persuaded Ronald Reagan, at the time president of the US, who was not an environmentalist, to put it mildly, to push for the Montreal Protocol, etc. So the message is, in addition to what you rightly said, create alliances in the business community that would simply make money out of doing the right thing. And I believe our imagination has to work into the business community as well as into the policy community. So putting the blame only on the policy is wrong, as has been said by Greta and others. We have to become more creative in finding alliances that will win and not lose.
One level. In 2.5 months, we have election in Switzerland for the federal parliament. Other level. It's so easy to eat less meat. It's so easy to replace our energy production by solar energy. That's going in your direction. The method are not the problem. The problem is moving, and election could help a lot.
I have a question to the participant. I would like to know if there is a global thinking about degrowth, because we heard the idea of Professor von Weizsäcker, but what think the participants of the movement?
You're asking about degrowth? Am I understanding correctly? Yeah, I think we mostly all agree about that we can't keep the economic growth going like it is going right now. And I don't think there's nothing wrong with consuming less because we don't need as much as we are consuming right now in general. And it's not that we're gonna become cavemen and have no comfort at all in general, but we can do with less, and it's more important right now for climate. So yeah, why not?
Hi, Fabienne from Blick and Sonntagsblick in Zurich. My question is to Greta. This morning, I'm here. Hi. This morning, the junior organization of the Populistic Party in Switzerland released a press release, the Junge SVP, and they called you, your movement, and your requirements highly dangerous. What would you like to answer?
Yeah, I am very dangerous. But I think, people say that all the time to this movement, and the whole climate movement, because, we are having an impact. That is why they feel like they must try to silence us and to create confusion. So I think that is, in some ways, a good sign. It proves that we are actually making a difference, that people feel threatened by us in a way. All we are doing is communicating and acting on the science, and I don't understand what is so dangerous with that.
Thank you very much.
Mr. von Weizsäcker mentioned the West Antarctica ice sheet, which can cause several meters sea level rise. In 2013, this was already known, and the IPCC, when presenting the last assessment report here in Switzerland, was talking about millimeter sea level rise. And IPCC ignored the findings about the West Antarctica ice sheet, and therefore I think IPCC in the past decades often published misleading information, especially in the technical summaries and in the summaries for policy makers. And in the last meeting of the Fridays for Future movement in Switzerland, we analyzed the IPCC 1.5 degrees report, and our conclusion was there is no carbon budget available. And my question is to Greta Thunberg, do you think there is a carbon budget, or do you think the carbon budget is already zero?
No, it's right. You can take that one. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, but this is what, sorry, what was the last word you say?
Do you think there is a carbon budget available that the world can continue in burning fossil energies? Or do you think there is not at all a carbon budget available? Because we have to apply the precautionary principle on all the latest findings of science, and there is nothing to burn. There is no justification for further burning fossil fuels, nor for 2035, nor for 2030, nor for 2050.
This is not what I think or we think. There's no opinion about that. It's just that the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, in the latest IPCC report, it says that if we are to have a 67% chance of limiting the global temperature rise to below 1.5 degrees Celsius, then we had on January 1st, 2018, 420 gigatons left of CO2 to emit. And I don't understand your question.
My opinion is there is no carbon budget. The carbon budget is negative, and we have to start cooling the Earth instead of giving us some more 10 or 20 years to continue with the fossil energies. So you think that 400 gigatons carbon dioxide is still existing and we can burn it and emit it? I don't agree with you.
I mean, as I said, on January 1st, 2018, they said that if we are to have a 67% chance of limiting the global temperature rise to below 1.5, we had 420 gigatons, and now, of course, that number is much lower today. And you're talking about geoengineering, then?
No, global cooling could be, for example, organic farming, where the carbon is going to the earth in a natural way by the plants, for example.
Yes.
And but the question is, if we apply the, I think with 34%, the IPCC gives you the future for you that the 1.5 degree target is failed, even if we continue with the 400 gigaton budget. And I think this is not acceptable. It's not acceptable that the young people have a chance of 34%, that the world is exceeding the 1.5 degrees.
One thing is about the IPCC. When it was founded in the late 1980s, it was the United States of America that formulated the mandate in a way that non-linear events must not be addressed, meaning West Antarctica. They are not allowed to work on non-linear phenomena. This is in their mandate. So I would not blame the individuals, but of course, like you, I and John Schellenhuber and others say we have to address the tipping points, the non-linear things. And then it is absolutely legitimate to believe, as you do, that there is no budget left if we take the precautionary principle serious. However, what Greta said essentially is cautious. If we have a chance of stabilizing climate not at 1.5 degrees, but at 2 degrees, it is a lot better than let it run into 3 degrees, 4 degrees, 5 degrees. So, making a political mechanism working that stops the current trend and doing what is possible with parties like the Schweizerische Volkspartei and the relevant people in Britain, in the US, in Germany, in Poland, etc., they are part of the electorate. And they make it almost impossible to do the right thing. So there are different roles. There is your role of taking the precautionary principle really serious. And there is another role of politicians doing the best possible and silencing some of the bad, stupid liars. In the morning I showed a picture of people prefer reassuring lies over an inconvenient truth. This is part of the political fact which we have to address if we pragmatically come up with something better than catastrophe. I'm not defending the 2 degrees target, but I say if we have a budget left, then we can establish a mechanism making it profitable in developing countries to stop new coal power plants. If we have no budget left, we can't. That is the dilemma. My main message is that your question addresses a very inconvenient dilemma. And I side with you in taking the precautionary principle serious, but in the other half of my soul, I say, well, if we have a chance of doing something to stop the avalanche at a later stage, it's better than just sitting back and despair.
Hi. Yeah.
But it should. Oh, I think it works now. Yeah. Okay. Hi, I'm Clara.
Sorry, technical problem.
Okay. Hi, Claire Pripp, WWF.
You don't have to do anything with the microphone. Just leave it as it is. It's already on. Yeah.
That's right.
No, don't touch it.
Okay, I think it goes through. Yes, Clara Pripp, WWF Germany. I also have a question for you, Greta. So we have the Paris Agreement for climate change, but do you think that we would need a similar agreement for nature? And is that something that Fridays for Future will help push for?
Of course, that could be something. Yeah, and yes, that is, if it's in line with the current best available science, then yes, that is something we would push for.
And it's that kind of part of, this is more a question than to maybe the organizer, if that's something you will include in the summit, a focus on the linkage between climate and nature laws, the climate change and nature laws?
As I'm not choosing the topics that the participants will discuss, I'm really sure that they will bring the topics of biodiversity and nature forward, because that's something which is really linked to the climate in general. So, yeah, that's really something which will be up at some point. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks.
Susumu Kojima from NHK here. Japanese public broadcaster. A question to Greta. I understand you have been invited for UN Climate Summit in September, and you're traveling by boat. Hope you have a good trip. Just wondering how important this summit is for you, and what would you like to achieve through the summit? And secondly, I understand this is a summit for youth in Europe, but if you have any message to youth in Asia, countries like Japan, China, we haven't seen so much actions going on right now, and if you have anything to say to those youth in these countries. Thank you.
Yes, this upcoming summit in New York is very important, and I mean, it comes now at such a crucial time, and we can't say enough how important that is. And I think this is a great opportunity for world leaders to show that they have actually listened to us and to the science. So, because they say that they understand and they listen, so now they will have to prove that. And my message to the young people in Asia, Japan, China is, I mean, there haven't been many strikes there, but there have been some strikes. So just like every other country, that we are now facing an ecological emergency, and we need to realize what is happening and what is required to stop or halt it. So, and to spread awareness and to say to young people that we can't accept this anymore, and we need to hold the older generations accountable for this. And I mean, it is our future. So, and since it's such a global problem, it's so important that we have people from all around the world.
My question is also for Greta. I'm here. You are here as a participant and not as a guest or lecturer, and yet you are on this stage and you are asked some very difficult and complex questions, even though there's a Nobel Prize winner just beside you. So how do you see your role in this movement? Do you seek to be, like, to give guidance or be an example for people who want to change the behavior, or how do you handle this role?
I mean, I am not a leader or some kind of figure to follow. I'm just a participant of this movement. Since this is such a movement, this is not an organization, we don't have titles and structures like that. This is very spontaneous, and so that also makes it easier for everyone to actually have as much to say in, and that everyone is equally important. So I don't see my role as so special. It's just that I am often invited to speak on behalf of this movement, and that is, of course, in many cases wrong, that I can't speak for this whole movement. I can only speak for myself. So, yeah.
I had a similar question, actually, but to follow up on that, I'd just like to know what it feels like to become a symbol known the world over, an international climate icon within a year, and how you handle that.
Yeah, these last months have been very strange. I could not have. I mean, it's all happened so fast, and it's still so hard to take in everything that's happened. You need to pinch yourself sometimes, but of course it's a lot of responsibility, a responsibility that I and this movement shouldn't have. We would love to go back to school and continue with our everyday lives, but as crucial as the situation is, as serious as this situation is, we feel like we must do something about this now. And so yeah, it is too much responsibility for us children. We shouldn't have to do this. So we would love to see adults and others to join us, to help us, to ease our burden. But it's how I cope with it. I mean, I don't like being in the center of attention, so it's hard sometimes to always have cameras on you. But I mean, I just have to remind myself that it's for a good cause. And if this is a way to to get the media to write about the climate and ecological emergency, then that works for me, I think, yeah.
But do you feel like you now have to do it? I mean, you're just kind of trapped in your own role?
I mean, no, of course not. I mean, we could just, I mean, we do as we want, so, but I mean, we want to do this because we want to change the world as it looks now, so... where was I? Where was I? Yeah. I mean, we've put ourselves in this situation and no one is forcing us to do it, but I mean, we feel like we have to because we know what is at risk. We know that our future is at risk, so we want to do everything we can to stop that.
Hello, I'm Francesca, an activist. I'm here. Sorry. I'm an activist from Italy, and I would like a question to the activist on the stage. It's a question that I'm asking also to myself, so I hope that you have an answer, and I think could be useful for the media to know too. Where do we find the energy, the courage, and the power to do what we are doing? Because it's a lot of energy, and I'm so proud of us, of our work, but sometimes it's useful to know from other activists where is from your energy. Thank you.
I mean, I guess all of us are activists on this stage, but I guess you meant me. I think it's a combination of fear and hope, because you're afraid of the future, and at the same time there is a theoretical chance still to do something. So you just kind of have to combine and try to find the hope side through action. So yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, and if I can add, we should be on holiday, but we are working because we know how bad the situation is. And the energy, when you fear about something, you can choose what you do with that fear. And you can join us and change that fear into action. And I think that's where you get so much energy, because you can feel it in your gut. We need to do something now. And yeah, either you change that fear into something good, or you're just blocked with your fear and you are just denying the situation. So it's up to us. How is your attitude?
There's room for 2 more questions.
Question to Greta and also the young participants. Greta, you read obviously a lot of data from scientists. What do you expect from physicians, medical doctors? Do you think they can be helpful? And what do you expect?
Yes, of course, we need everyone, and everyone can help in their special way. We are doing what we can, and of course, people who have other positions and other people, they can help in different ways. I don't expect anything special from people in a certain group of working. How do you say it? Field, yes, sorry, in a special field, but it's, I mean, the bigger your platform and your impact, of course, the bigger your responsibility. So, I mean, it's not just because you have a certain job you should do something. I mean, it's how much power you have to change things and how big of a platform you have.
Is there one last question?
I have a lot of questions, but I will ask you just one, because I am on Facebook and now a lot of people are very critical about your movement. And how do you deal with particularly scientists who don't agree with your vision and with the facts that we... Sinon, je continue en français. Hein. Mais est-ce que vous avez compris? How do you deal with other scientists who also say we are scientists and we are not okay with this fact that you put forward?
It's a question what to answer.
I mean, you would have to specify which scientists they are and what exactly are they saying, and then we can answer scientifically. Like
just now, a founder of Greenpeace, for example. How do you deal with those colleagues which are traitors to the cause?
To them because we don't deal with them at the moment because
yes,
I haven't been talking
Jacques,
to them.
peut-être.
Yeah.
Yes. Again, you are a journalist.
Yes.
How do you deal? Oh, sorry. You are a journalist. How do you deal with the fact of science brought by hundreds and thousands of competent people, and there are a few incompetent or claiming to be competent, and you want to give them the same weight? You are the journalist, and you are competent, and you judge them.
So thank you very much. Yeah, you go on.
Fridays for Future on Instagram has two main accounts from which we broadcast our message.
Can you pass him a microphone, please?
Fridays for Future has two main accounts from which we broadcast our message, and one of them is Fridays for Future and the other one is Fridays for Future Global. Fridays for Future has already been taken down once for 3 weeks, and I think it has stopped us from getting our message across. And now 2 weeks ago the account Fridays for Future Global was also taken down by Instagram. My question to Greta is, do you think this is stopping us from getting our message across, and what do you expect from Instagram now?
I'm not very involved in that. From the organizers I know that Fridays for Future was sorry, my brain is not working correctly. Shut down. Yeah, the account was shut down because they thought they was pretending to be someone else, and then they found out that Fridays for Future was the main account, at least from what I have heard. So, I mean, those who I know have the Fridays for Future account, not the Fridays for Future Global account, but I don't really don't trust me too much because I've only heard one side of the story. So.
And what do you expect from Instagram to do now, because maybe it's stopping us from getting our message across?
I don't think they did it because they were stopping us from getting our message across. I just think that there were a bit of confusion between the two, which one were the official and which one maybe was mimicking or something. I don't know. So I don't. And from what I've heard, Instagram has apologized. So I don't expect so much from them now.
Do you expect them to take the second account up?
That's now where, okay. So thank you very much for your interest. Sorry we can't answer all questions. Thank you. Please feel free to attend our concluding press conference, which is this Friday at 10 o'clock right here. And then, of course, there will be a big demonstration. It will start on Friday at 3 o'clock at the main station, and it will end down by the lake in Vidi. There will be speeches and our concluding event of the week. So please all come and join us there as well. Thank you.